Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are right into picks and bans for Game 2 of the LHGUL Week 6 Team Aquila versus Omega Gaming Unleashed. I am once again Gordo, joined once again by Rude Dude. And Rude Dude, we're right back into it.
Yes, we can, Gordo. Thank you. As I remember to unmute my microphone right there, we can see a
Good
slight
to have you with us,
deviation.
Rude Dude.
It's great to be back. Thank you guys so much for all the support during these hard times. The adaptation coming through here from Team Aquila being that they actually ban away the Graves. Zydeco not going to get his hands on that one, and not giving up the first pick to Simalcrum either. That they are both big Graves players. It's going to get taken away from the both of them as the Senna locked in for adjustment down in the bot lane, going to try and support his team with that AD carry pick, and Team Aquila responding with the Jhin and the Lilia. The Jhin working so well in game number 1, and Lilia a power pick in the current meta. Definitely going to be interesting to see Zydeco on this pick this time round.
Yeah, and Lilia was what was picked up by Simalcrum last game, but for Simalcrum, he got counterpicked by Zydecol's Graves. But now on this side, Simalcrum going up against this Lilia, not going to have access to the Graves as it's been banned away. He's going to lock in the Sejuani instead as his Lilia counterpick of choice.
So already fairly, relatively low damage profile coming through from Unleashed. The Senna needs a lot of time to scale up and be that heavy hitter that she is known for in the late game with those big items. The Sejuani as well, just a big beefy tank, going to be trying to lock down the Jhin, lock down the Lilia, and escort Unleashed to some free kills. And they're going along the same guidelines here. They've got themselves the Maokai picked up, a big beefy top laner to add to this top side. And we'll have to see. The Riven is still open here for Woohyun. We have to remember that he had a fairly decent game on it in game number 1. Didn't get to flex in lane as hard as he would have liked, but was definitely showing up in the team fights just fine.
Yeah, and the Maokai, definitely a pick that is going to be effective into that Riven, but you say that it's a big, beefy top laner, but it could just as easily be a big, beefy support for
Yep.
that bot lane Senna. Definitely one of the picks that pairs well with a bot lane Senna. You can twist it advance in and give a good target for Senna to fire out that piercing darkness through. Definitely a good option.
And you can see here, Team Aquila are wise to this. This, sort of flex pick coming through is something that they're not going to let slip between their fingers. They're putting the ban on the Madman. The Mordekaiser gets taken away respectfully. Knows that he's, very prolific with it, even if he has to maybe play Maokai this game. Knows that the opportunity is there, the flex ability respected from Team Aquila.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth here by making a call by calling out a pick a little bit early here, but Omega Gaming seems to be setting up for Princeton's Yasuo here. Oh, but
It's
Yasuo's already banned.
banned.
So there you go. I told you I was gonna do it, and I've already done it. The Yasuo's banned, the Yone is banned, but we got to expect some kind of hard carry pick coming through here onto Princeton, as it seems like every other member of his team is going to be on tanks and supports.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sejuani Irelia is a combo that is open to them. Irelia fits just samely within the wheelhouse of Yasuo Yone. That being said, I mean, Corki is a very stable, consistent DPS threat in the mid lane. Does exactly what you want from a mid laner in terms of providing magic damage and providing a consistent source of DPS. If they choose to lock this one in, would be by no means a bad pickup here, and we would revert back to the wise old days of Corki Azir meta.
Oh, we all know our favorite times were during Corki Azir meta, but the fact that this Corki's been locked in now makes me think maybe a little bit more likely to be Maokai support, as this team comp does just seem very low damage for the time being. Corki can be a primary damage dealer, but maybe not exactly the 1v10 pick that is not going to be really necessary.
No, definitely not in the early game either, where we can see Unleashed really are lacking damage at this point, and
And
this
there's the
is
Renekton.
something else. There we go. That is going to completely diversify how Unleashed are going to play out the comp, and a fairly low physical damage composition has now been drafted into the complete opposite direction with that Renekton pickup. That being said, Renekton's two big counters are still up and available. The Jax and the Camille both still available for Team Aquila, and they've left counter pick to the top lane, so it's going to be up to them what they want, and they're instead going to opt for the set in the top lane.
I was all ready for that Volibear because that's what we've been seeing picked into Renekton quite a bit over at the World Championships. But Set also going to be an available option here. Something just hoping to trade out with that Renekton and just another showdown between these two top laners.
Yeah, these are going to be fairly volatile top lane once again. I mean, I said that last game, and we only really saw a few pieces of jungle impact be the things that were important. All that with that all being said, we have to remember that Renekton, in recent patches, recent seasons for me, has sort of changed the way that he plays out as a top laner, and especially in season 10, noticed that in late game team fights doesn't necessarily fall off as much as the Renekton of old should be able to try and find access to the Jin, to the Azir, and if he's able to just take down one of these hard late game carry members of Team Aquila, he's going to be more than happy to trade his life for that, especially with, two big backline threats in the Senate in the Corki. If he's able to neutralize one member of Team Aquila, be it the Jin, be it the Azir, then this Renekton will have done his job in a team fight later on.
Yeah, definitely going to be a squishier team fight or team comp and team fight coming out of Team Aquila. Their main frontliner is going to be this Set, but even he could have his big shield potentially shredded away by Renekton, and is not really going to represent the kind of big beefy front line that a Renekton, Maokai, Sejuani are going to offer, especially if he goes for something like the Blade of the Rune King build. So going to be really reliant on that Tarek pick coming in from Two Pump on the side of Team Aquila to make sure that the team is stayed safe and can be invulnerable during the key moments that they need to be in order to win these fights.
For sure, and looking across at the Team Aquila roster, I really like the fact that they've drafted Jin early on in the draft because it went well last game. But then with the pickups that Unleashed have gone for, being the Sejuani, being the Maokai, these two big tank front lines, going to be really difficult for the Jin to get through. And so they draft themselves the Azir, something that is very adept at killing tanks in the mid and late game. The Azir with the scaling attack speed, scaling AP, really can chow through these tanks. And these are going to be low economy tanks as well. So Malcolm, as a jungler, more than happy to sacrifice camps in the mid game to enable Senna, to enable Corki better as carries, meaning that the timing on which they'll be getting the magic resist and those, big items to sustain themselves versus the Azir will come much later than necessary.
Yeah, for sure. And now we're just going to be mimicking through these exact same picks. Just going to be the final clarification that it is going to be the Maokai support and the Renekton top lane, as well as the Set top lane with the Tarek support. No crazy top lane flex picks going on for this game. Just going to be everything as expected. Going to be the last chance here for Omega Gaming Unleashed to take a game off Team Aquila. The last chance to make sure that they don't go into playoffs with a 100% win rate.
No, exactly, and that is what Team Aquila are going to be striving for here. Once again, the same sort of stories that we were painting from last week. That Team Aquila here playing for pride, playing to maintain the unbeaten record, and Unleashed really here to just play spoiler because they've already secured themselves at worst second seed, which is very, very positive coming out of a group stage. In a group of six, coming out second is definitely something to be proud of. But obviously, they are looking to show that they can go toe to toe with Team Aquila because at this stage, Aquila do look fairly unstoppable. And we're talking about a deep playoff run for either of these teams. Team Aquila definitely looking the stronger of the two to get all that way through. So Unleashed here really needed to start sort of stamping their authority back and say, you know what, we can beat these guys, we can challenge them, because otherwise, if we get to that deep phase, it's still just going to be the same story repeated.
Yeah, and these are going to be teams that will be seated on opposite sides of the bracket regardless. So Omega Gaming definitely going to be looking to kind of get a little bit of a motivational boost up against this team if they can take them, or maybe even reverse sweeping the series and trying to take the first seed for themselves. Regardless, this is going to be the last time these two teams meet each other for quite a while, unless both of them make some very deep runs in these playoffs.
For sure. And that being all, said and done, you have to remember that this composition that Omega Gaming have drafted for each other is so focused around the top side with the Sejuani Renekton combo that they're able to potentially go and dive this set. And yes, it seems a bit counterintuitive to, or not counterintuitive, but a bit risky to try and dive a set. But when you have Renekton, when you have Sejuani, you are able to proc the Sejuani passive incredibly quickly, and if you're doing it at about the level 6 marker, so much CC can be layered on top of one another that the set might not even be able to cast the Haymaker to be safe, or to have that safety net for himself. So many things can happen, and Unleashed have the opportunity to start snowballing early on. The tools aren't necessarily the same for Team Aquila this game, because they don't have a particularly ganking jungler like the Sejuani for Samalkram.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking to layer that CC down onto Wu Yun. Going to really be able to do that very efficiently with this combo, as you said. The multiple hits coming through the Renekton W, going to enable that Sejuani passive even more, going to let him get that stun into another stun, into a third stun, maybe even from the Sejuani ultimate. Going to be very efficient dive tools here. And if you can sync up that Renekton W up against Set's Haymaker, then you can shred right through the shield as well. Definitely a lot of options to deal with Set in those dives, but it has to be executed well.
It does, and the power of Set here in particular, we touched on Team Aquila's sort of not lack of frontline necessarily, but the willingness to put frontline into the support, and this time around, they've opted for a very similar situation where they've got a 4 carry comp outside of the support role, and they're going to be relying on 2 pump once again to fulfill that tank role. And they've gone for a little bit of a different dynamic in this game, and the fact that they're relying on Cosmic Radiance and heals from the Taric to provide that war of attrition in team fights that will allow them to edge out Omega Gaming Unleashed. The Taric is going to be such a powerful pick just in terms of denying engages onto their own team. If the Cosmic Radiance comes down a second too quickly, Unleashed will be able to back away. If it comes down a second too late, then your team might already be dead. So much power in this Taric pick, and 2 Pump really going to need to exhibit some mastery of this Taric for us to be, impressed and for it to show effectiveness.
Definitely something to keep an eye on, Rude Dude. And with that, we are going to take a short break here while we get loaded up into the game, going to get ourselves all synchronized, hopefully not going to encounter any pauses along the way. Regardless, we will be back as soon as we are able to with every bit of action from game 2. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of Team Aquila versus Omega Gaming Unleashed for the LHGUL Week 6, the final week that will determine the seeding heading into playoffs for this Zon group. I am Gordo, joined once again by Rudude. Rudude, how's it going?
It's going well here. We're hoping for a little bit of a return sweep for Omega Gaming Unleashed here, but Team Aquila looked so powerful in that first game that it's going to be a difficult game for Unleashed no matter what. They're relying a little bit on the heavy scaling aspects of Corki and Senna, but then at the same time they're staring down the barrel of an Azir and a Jhin, two champions that Azir on the one hand does an immense amount of damage in the late game, and Jhin can be very slippery as we get later and later with that possible 100% crit chance coming through, that extra movement speed making it very difficult to lock down and can definitely kite out a Renekton.
Yeah, for sure. Always hoping to see some more games tonight, but like you said, this was such a dominant game one. Definitely Omega Gaming Unleashed coming into this game too. It's a little bit of the underdogs. They've come in with a different strategy this game. They've got pretty much in fact, literally everybody on a different champion versus what they were on last game, hoping that this alternative strategy might give them what they need to take out Team Aquila.
And that said, we have to, draw a little bit of attention to what is, to all intents and purposes, a bit of a unique support pickup in the bot lane for Unleashed here. The Maokai support, not something that we see too often really coming through, and with the Aftershock rune choice we can sort of infer that it's going to be a more tanky style Maokai. In recent patches as well, it's something that has sort of restarted cropping up again. Maybe an airy Maokai with the sapling max using the brushes to their advantage, being a little bit more obnoxious versus the bot lane. But with the Aftershock coming through, we do imagine that tank route.
Yeah, and with this Maokai, it was a little bit up in the air who is actually going to be farming in this lane. The fasting Senna builds have become less popular as they've been nerfed repeatedly, but past iterations of Senna Maokai lanes have definitely had the Maokai as the featured farmer, whereas Senna just taking, one of those 80 poke farm items and focusing primarily on getting souls.
And that's a nice little trade down on the bot side for the Senna. Anytime you can get an auto and a piercing darkness off, gives you a free stack of absolution, and that is the main way that Senna AD carry will be generating the souls in the new age style of Senna, really, because you are unable to pick up minion kills and the souls unless you are very lucky, as Princeton taking a very rough
Prism
trade.
really punishing Princeton here for going for that siege minion, just knowing that it was at such low HP and Princeton had to go forward. Meanwhile, there's going to be some trading in the bot lane. Pretty good piercing darkness going through that Taric, feeling a good chunk of damage.
Yeah, and both of these support or bot lane duos actually.
This is going to be an aggressive trade-in from the Madman, getting a bunch of autos here onto Wu Yun, stacking up that Conqueror, taking some favorable trades.
Yeah, both of the top laners there going a bit at it. You can see Princeton still having a rough time in the mid lane, but the Madman actually going a little bit more advantageous than he was in the 1v1 last time round, with a 10 CS lead already. Definitely a good position for him to be in. Likewise, that being said though, the bot lane advantage is just the same in the mid.
Here is that dive we were talking about, Rudude. Smelkrum goes right under, but gets the stun onto both. Wu Yun does. He's going to go for this kill, but not going to be able to do so. An excellent flash out of the Haymaker from Smelkrum opens the door for Madman to take the first blood. He doesn't go down either. It's going to be a positive 1-for-0 first blood, cleanly picked up for Omega Gaming Unleashed.
And that's where you see the Ruthless Predator so useful versus the set's Haymaker. Fully stacked Grit gets absolutely obliterated by the Renekton W, which takes out shields now. As of a few patches ago, the Renekton, a really nice pickup into this set. Perfect dive on the top side, and a big wave denied, a little bit of experience too. The set uses the TP to get back up there, but definitely feeling himself a little bit more hurt in this top lane than he was on the Riven.
Yeah, and this is what we spent a lot of champion select talking about. This Sejuani Renekton duo is just so adept at getting off these early dives, and with one already in the bank, you gotta believe that they're gonna try for a repeat gank sometime soon in this game. And Wu Yun, with no flash, no teleport, is at risk of being taken almost completely out if it happens again.
Yeah, if Unleashed are able to put another gank into the top lane that is either able to kill Wu Yun or force him to take a disadvantage back, then Simulacrum and the Madman will have done their job on this top side, and Princeton still in the mid lane, still taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely just this classic even matchup, but going in the favor of Prism here, getting off some very favorable early trades, but it is going to be a fight in the bot lane. A good two-man stun out of 2 pumps, which is going to be followed up by LHGUL, who picks up a kill onto Adjustment. Now looking for Simulacrum, but the Madman is teleported down to the bot lane. He flashes forward, he lands the stun, and it's going to be a pickup of a kill onto LHGUL for the side of the Madman. 1 for 1, going in favor of Mega Gaming Unleashed.
Yeah, and the teleport down, that is that TP advantage that the Madman had via that top gank that Simulacrum put through, now starting to put advantages across the map.
Madman going for a trade onto Prism, but he is just going to Shifting Sands right over that wall. He's having none of that crocodile business.
No, but look at this mid lane wave. It's in such a rough spot for Princeton to even step up and last hit it. Look at the pressure that Prism is putting on Princeton when he gets anywhere near the wave. Has to Valkyrie away just for getting 1 minion. This is such a rough spot for the mid lane right now. Simulacrum definitely going to be needed at some point.
Yeah, and this is just left with some, like, HP difference. You know, Azir is not this hard, quirky counter that always wins lane. This is the classic even matchup. But Prism here going aggressive onto Simulacrum, has no opponent to stop him. Prism going to get a solo kill onto the opposing jungler. Now it's the Madman looking to trade back onto Woohyun. Can he get it? But no, it's going to be a shutdown for Woohyun. A counter solo kill in favor of Team Aquila's top laner. Now they're onto the Dragon. They've taken everything and pulled this game back into their favor.
Yeah, the double solo kill coming through there. Prism jumping onto Simulacrum, and the Madman losing that 1 versus 1 versus Woohyun on the top side. The set, who had died level 4, had a TP away from him, and the double kill picked up for the Renekton. Still wasn't enough for the Madman to make that trade go in his way. Woohyun on this set makes the 1v1 in his favour, and now he's going to pick up those ninja tabbies, pick up an extra longsword as well, and this lane should become a lot easier.
Yeah, Woohyun doing massive work there to undo the hole that he was dug into by that early gank, getting a solo kill for himself, allowing him to catch up in farm, allowing him to catch up in gold, and really going to solidify himself as now back to being a competitor in this lane. We were talking about him being possibly taken out completely, but he's managed to get himself back in. Meanwhile, Prism is mid-gapping this entire game. He's been forcing Princeton back repeatedly. He's developed almost a 20 CS lead for himself, and now he's forcing Princeton in under his turret and using that priority to go and solo kill the opposing jungler.
It is such a disparity at the minute in this mid lane, with not just the kill going over to the Azir, but all of this CS as well. Almost effectively a plus 50% trade up on the CS here. Prism has...
Oh, the Madman trying to do his best Prism impression, wandering into the opposing jungle, hoping to pick up the opposing jungler while he's ahead of him, but Prism, still so powerful in this mid lane, can just roam right on up, force him out. He has to dash back into the Rift Herald wall, go back to his lane against Woohyun.
Yeah, and you can see already as well a nice experience lead opening itself up for the Azir in this mid lane, and he's quite content now just to keep pushing in these waves, pushing around the Corki, meaning that the Azir is able to roam around the map as you alluded to so perfectly. With this push, you can see, not bothered about poking out the Corki at this stage, just wants to roam around, and I say that, does go in for another trade, but he has the opportunity to make things happen around the map. With double control ward on the bot side, feels comfortable. Woohyun ganking top himself.
Woohyun just trying to get some aggressive trades in onto this Renekton. He has the Ninja Tabby, so he knows he can take a little bit more aggressive trades than he was able to previously in this lane. He can try to regen up with that set passive and not worry about being chunked out. But Vikro has been caught out. He's getting put to sleep while he's still only level 5. It's going to be the Taric following up, but LHGUL doesn't even need his support's help. He can just take the kill on his own.
Yeah, really, Vikro getting a little bit caught out right there, going for a control ward that he had no business trying to kill. Simulacrum and the Madman, with all the pressure on the top side, meant that the Lilia was able to roam freely down to take down the lonely Maokai. Burns the flash, still dies, and that's not the way that Vic wanted his first death to go. Gonna give the Lilia another kill, and Prism jumping on Princeton very freely.
So powerful in this lane. Simulacrum, though, coming in on the flank, going to be landing that Glacial Prison onto his opponent, but he's going to be picked up in turn. But it's the gigantic ultimate from Senna coming up to pick up the kill for Adjustment, but Princeton going to be picked up by LHGUL on the same side. It's a 2-for-1, but it is an important shutdown on a Prism.
Yeah, they take down the Azir, and it goes in the pocket of Adjustment. This Senna, who is farming away somewhat freely on this bot side, is keeping track with this Jhin here, and actually just a little bit further ahead in experience, I believe, from the fact that Vic actually died or, you know, had been out of the lane, making things happen elsewhere. Unleashed, though, the rest of the roster trying their best to keep even in this game, but only really finding that success in the bot lane with a 2,000 gold lead across the rest of the map here. Even the 2 kills in the top lane actually helping the Madman be the recipient of a little bit of a gold lead up there, but it's mainly this jungle and mid duo that are so far behind.
Top laners are trading once again. Smalcrum is up in this river, going to try to come up here and keep the Madman ahead. The Madman already having favorable trades here himself, going to get hit by that Haymaker, but that means the shield is no longer available. Can the Madman get away? But no, he gets picked up by the solo kill by Wuyun off the back of Wuyun's flash. Now Smalcrum is here to try to clean up. He's not going to be able to get the stun, so he's going to get stunned up himself by Smalcrum and solo killed. It's going to be a 1-for-1 in the top lane. Got to give props to Wuyun, really making this 2v1 into more of a 1v1.
Yeah, the 2v1 never really amounted right there. It became 2 1v1s, and the set not quite able to take down the Sejuani, and with the completed Cinder Hulk already here with the Red Smite, Smalcrum feeling himself a little bit right there, especially since Wukong was maybe 300-400 HP as well. He was in a great spot to maybe make something happen right there, but if we see a 1v1 on this top side in the next couple of minutes or so, I have to actually still give the advantage to the Madman, and it feels a bit weird saying that given he's died twice solo now, but look at the items, and Zydeco's going for Smalcrum.
Yeah, now Smalcrum and Zydeco here trading back and forth onto each other. The Smite going to be used onto the opposing Sejuani just for the movement speed boost, and that means that the Rift Herald is going to be picked up by Omega Gaming Unleashed. Smalcrum takes the victory where he can get it, picks up that Rift Herald, and is starting to head towards the top lane. He's going to pick up that Scuttle Crab and hopefully dump off this Rift Herald within the next 2 minutes to try to get that bonus gold and get his team back in the game.
Yeah, they might even use the Rift Herald to net themselves an advantage on this dragon here. If he puts this down mid lane, generates a little bit of a pressure point.
Well, the Madman is flanking in behind. He gets the stun on Zydeco, who's forced to flash away right away, but it's going to be a package following up in onto him, followed up by another dash from the Corki, but he's not going to be able to pick it up. He gets put to sleep, and the Lilia just going to retreat under her bot lane turret, but this means the Smite is going to be at very low health and likely have to recall, so they're going to start up this dragon. It's going to be the curtain call coming through for the Jhin, but Princeton is actually just shooting rockets right back over to trade all the damage right back. Heisper going to have to back away from that. It's going to be Omega Gaming Unleashed picking up this dragon, tying up the dragons once again, and now the Madman has to teleport top lane to save his turret.
Yeah, he is now a little bit down in the experience because he spent so much time around, and the bot lane
now
going
another
in.
Engage. Viscero looking in for a kill onto 2-Pump here, but he's just going to heal it up and start backing away. The Lilia still here, hasn't taken that recall yet, going to be throwing in those bowling balls.
Yeah, just keeping a little bit of pressure down here, keeping Kaispert and 2-Pump safe while they want to push in this final wave, maybe get themselves a reset off. And that is that Herald being used in the mid lane. Prism jumps in, defends the final of the fourth of the 5 plates. Madman's still on this top side with the Blade of the Ruin King completed. I would have given him the edge previously, but with that level discrepancy, the set might just about have the advantage. And those Ninja Tabbies as well actually going to be doing a lot for the 1v1.
Yeah, a nice infusion of gold into Princeton there by using that Rift Herald in mid lane, going to try to get him back in the game. As you can see, he's just being bullied by Prism.
Yeah, this Azir is definitely dominating this mid lane. You can look at it in the CS, look at it in the XP, look at it wherever you want. This Azir is ahead in every metric possible with 50 CS lead over the Corki. The Prism that we saw in game number 1 coming back to fight in game 2.
Ooh, nice Blade of the Ring King there from the Madman, giving him the movement speed to escape the face breaker from Wuyun. But the fact that he needs to escape at all, as you've already said, is kind of the problem here. He's been picking this matchup to try to dominate, and while he was able to get the early kills, Wuyun has been like a black hole for pressure in the top lane. He's absorbed all the pressure, he's picked up what he could, and now he's coming out even or ahead in these fights with the Madman.
He is, and the one point of contention that Unleashed still have going for themselves is this bot lane adjustment, and Vikro have actually been putting up some fairly decent standing down here. And the Senna priority in the lane, the way that once she's completed just the 1 mana moon and is able to sustain the duo is really important down here, because it means that he can continue to poke out Kaisper and then heal himself up, heal up the Vikro Maokai as well. And then the healing from the Taric just isn't the same level as Senna at this stage. Taric healing really comes through in team fights when the Taric's autoing a lot, getting those resets on the heal. Same sort of principle as Senna, but the Senna's is much more impactful and much more devastating on a cooldown.
Yeah, no, but I do encourage everybody, do not underestimate the power of these full tanks in the late game, particularly the Maokai and the Sejuani. They are going to scale incredibly heavily along with the infinite scaling range on behalf of the Senna. Omega Gaming are not out here. They have the opportunity to scale up in this game and to be able to successfully team fight it out. If their front line can survive the entire duration of the Taric ultimate, they can win these team fights, but they're getting engaged on. Sejuani has been put to sleep. Smalkram is getting flanked on. He's going to have to flash away and be shielded up by the Dawning Shadow, but he is going to survive.
Yeah, nice little collapse there from Team Aquila, forcing a lot of big cooldowns out of Omega Gaming Unleashed. The one ultimate, the one flash, and the roam up again from 2Pump and Kaisper, asserting themselves as a little bit of a roaming force coming through. They were willing to go to that play if there was one to happen, but willingly Unleashed could get engaged.
2Pump going to be getting a nice stun here on to adjustment, but Vikro playing interference there, going to be catching that deadly flourish to protect his AD carry. Madman, though, taking some unfortunate trades here from Wu Yun, who has completed the Trinity Force first item and is bullying this Renekton right back.
Yeah, will be doing now with that completed Triforce. You can see Madman doing his best.
Another pull in, followed up by some auto attacks. Wu Yun taking an extra turret shot there, but he's going to be able to regen it back with that set passive. He is now become so powerful, but he's going to get flanked on by Smalkram. He's going to flash, follow up with the ultimate, trying to pick up the Madman, and he's going to do it now. Can Sejuani finish off the kill? No, Wu Yun is just too powerful with this Trinity Force, and Prism is teleported into the top lane. Wu Yun and Prism going to be chasing down the Smalkram here. They're going to pick it up. Prism gets another kill. It's a 2-for-0 in the favor of Team Aquila.
Yeah, really nice CC layering by Wu Hyun right there. Uses the Showstopper, then the Facebreaker into Haymaker combo. That devastating duo is absolutely insane. And now
pick up the turret, but is that going to be all? He might have to trade his life for it, as he does get picked up by Zyda after being Shurima shuffled right back under that turret he had destroyed.
So he gets himself the first turret and gets himself a fairly decent injection of gold. I think overall that play is not horrendous for Princeton. Yes, giving up a kill is never something that you want to do, especially with Drake spawning in 14 seconds. But getting the first turret gold for himself, denying that from Wu Hyun in the top side, is not the worst thing that could happen. I like the fact that he's committed to it and not actually just, try to save himself, realized that he was dead and got the objective for it instead.
Yeah, no, that 450 gold he picks up for destroying the first turret is going to keep him within 1k of Prism. It's going to prevent Princeton from falling so far behind that he's just completely irrelevant, but it does mean that Prism and Zyda have another kill to their name, and they are so powerful in this game. They've both picked up Haunting Guises, so as these fights go on, they're just going to ramp up and become more and more powerful. Plus, they've picked up another dragon here. They're going to be looking to push towards this soul as the game goes on. Luckily, Omega Gaming were able to pick up one for themselves, so there's going to be 5 more minutes before Dragon Soul can be accessed, which is 5 more minutes they can scale up with their frontliners and try to win these team fights.
Exactly, and I really like that you point out the item purchases of these two AP users here, as we see Unleashed starting their way on this second Rift Herald that would be going in their favour. The Liandry is going to be doing so much for both of these AP carries right here because of all of the magic, or because of all of the HP being built up Unleashed.
Aquila coming up here. The package has been used, but the Rift Herald is also picked up. Rift Heralds can always be so easily accessed by this Corki as long as you are able to synchronize the pickup of the package with the taking of the Rift Herald. And Omega Gaming have done that so effectively with both Rift Heralds of this game. It's really the one area of this game where they've been consistently able to be successful over the side of Aquila.
It is, and those neutral objectives are, swaying 50-50 at this point, with actually I think 3 total will be in favor of Unleashed compared to the 2 of Team Aquila. So in terms of just the objective game, Unleashed really aren't that far behind. They've traded a few turrets across the map, and whilst they haven't gained the bot tier 1 yet, they're not completely out of the running here. They're really only the kills and team fights that aren't going in their favor, which is by no means a good thing to be boasting about. But Vikro could be catching Prism, but the turret goes up.
Yeah, going to be a turret going down. He's going to miss the ultimate from the Azir there, so Adjustment just going to back away here. Going to be just backing away from each other. Princeton now is up here on the top roam, but we've seen this song and dance before. Wu Yun might be able to turn it around on the Madman if he's not careful, but no, he times it correctly, and the Madman able to pick up a big shutdown with the help of his mid laner.
Yeah, a little bit more patience from Unleashed in that 1 versus 2, and they are able to pick up the free kill on the immediately set in the top side, burning all of the ultimate cooldowns that they needed to enable that kill for themselves. It's just a free shutdown there for the Renekton, not necessarily the biggest cash injection, with it being just the 300 stat gold. But that being said, if they're able to pick up the other bounties, LHGUL and Prism here, then they could start getting themselves back to an even gold gain right now, because they are pretty sizable. 450 gold on top of the 300 is definitely enough to catapult a carry toward a full item. And we can see Adjustment just waiting on his edge of night right here with those items. Once he picks that up, engaging on this center is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, now we're about 2 minutes out from the next dragon, and that is going to be right when Princeton does get his package back up. And that is something to keep an eye on with these neutral objectives. You know, if anybody was paying a lot of attention to professional play back in spring, that was kind of the meme among the analytical community for this Azir Corki matchup, is that if you're against Corki and you go to Rift Herald at level at 8 minutes in, you're completely trolling the game, because the package is just such a big team fight tool that is going to make such a difference in every fight. It's going to be hopefully what Omega Gaming Unleashed rather are going to try to use to propel themselves ahead in this objective game, and to try to keep Team Aquila from getting that Dragon Soul too early.
Exactly, and that is another thing that Corki provides to you in the late game. Just another team fighting tool, another, you know, big ultimate essentially that comes from just his passive. And it feels weird to call it an ultimate, because obviously we know that it's not, but it is that level of game changing.
It's almost better than an ultimate,
exactly.
To be honest. It's like
it's Rumble ult, but better.
It's like a Pantheon ultimate and a Rumble ultimate in one ability. It's just so powerful in these team fights, and it can section off such huge portions of these fights and cause the Corki to reposition in such an effective way that it's always going to be one of the most powerful tools in the fight.
Exactly, and then you have other champions with passives like Nasus, and then you start to question how balanced the majority of older champions are, but we won't get into that just now, as Unleashed here, they're walking themselves down toward the bot side. There are 3 control wards for them to get here, and they're going to try and look for them all.
Yeah, Madman going in on a Woohyun again, but this time it's the opposing team's jungler who's with him. LHGUL going to put him right to sleep, and you gotta believe they're going to be able to pick this up. The Madman taking so much damage here from Woohyun and LHGUL, trying to pick him up, chasing him down with that speed from the Lilia. Woohyun going to flash forward and pick up the kill with his ultimate.
Yeah, the Showstopper able to pick up the last portion of damage necessary as Adjustment with the Edge of Night. Can't get engaged on by this Taric. Was definitely in range, but the Edge of Night providing him with enough distance to keep safe, and he might actually be caught here though.
But that's going to be the Rift Herald having to be popped down in the middle of the river, and it's Adjustment getting caught out just the same. He's going to get picked up by the entirety of Team Aquila, caught sleeping in the middle of the river, couldn't quite go there, and it's going to be the Rift Herald going down as well.
Yeah, so the Rift Herald wasted, and now the Summoner spells of Adjustment down as well. This is going to be a pretty much a free dragon for Team Aquila.
Princeton's here with the package. The whole team is here in time for the dragon. They don't want to give this up. They put in so many resources for it. The Madman does have teleport available. They might be going for it, but that's going to be the package going in onto Prism, followed up by Vikro, trying to flash in onto the opposing mid laner. Blue team has stolen the Ocean Drake, and it's another kill picked up as well onto Prism. This is gotta be the closest thing to a win that Omega Gaming Unleashed could hope for. They steal the dragon, they pick up a shutdown onto Prism, they're still in the game.
Yeah, but think about what Team Aquila can do with this. They've just taken down the Smite, and 24 minutes into this game, Baron is definitely on the table. That being said, Princeton has a lot of damage, Adjustment too, and Team Aquila, without their Azir, their lead DPS source,
oh, but it's going to be a flash forward. Vikro getting caught up here by the Taric stun, but it's going to be so much shielding coming through from Adjustment, using that Dawning Shadow to protect his teammate. It's a re-engage from Woohyun, using the Showstopper to try to re-engage, but not going to be able to do enough damage. Double kill going over to Princeton as LHGUL and Kaisper are being chased away by the remainder of the team.
Okay, and now the shoe is on the other foot here with 2 members of Team Aquila down. Unleashed might have the opportunity to look towards that Baron as well. LHGUL stepping too far forward. Princeton
flashing forward, trying to get the kill onto LHGUL, gonna get that auto attack, gonna get the shutdown. Huge
no
plays
smite
by Princeton back into the game, and now there's no smite available. They're going to go for this Baron.
2-item Corki, absolutely devastating Team Aquila right there. That's 3 kills picked up for Princeton, and after a very rough laning phase, comes up huge in the team fight. Prism and Kaisper nearby. Can they take it away?
They want to at least try to contest this here. It's going to be Prism going over to boost the jungler onto the other side, but the smite is going to go in favor of Smalcrum nonetheless, and it's just going to be Prism getting picked up.
And Gordo, what is it with us and these unbeaten teams? This is the second time now we see another undefeated team potentially falling to the hands of a lower seeded squad right here. A really huge team fight out of Omega Gaming Unleashed, and a bit of a throw, you feel like, from Team Aquila. They set up the bush trap and they look for just the Maokai on their own without enough vision to scout out the rest of the Unleashed roster, knowing that the Maokai were, or thinking the Maokai rather, was on his own and that they could just burst him down. But then in comes the rest of the squad. Senna there with enough healing to keep the Maokai safe, the Dawning Shadow as well, providing some safety there. And then the TP from the Renekton giving them a numbers advantage. That has now given Omega Gaming Unleashed the gold lead for the first time in what it feels like this series here. Princeton, off that recall, was able to pick up an entire rapid fire cannon. Now has some crit to go into his build as well. With the completed Mura Mana and Trinity Force as well, a 3-item Corki is very devastating and has actually got more items than the Azir at this point in the game. So this is definitely something to keep your eye on. We talked about the scaling possibility of Unleashed, and we're seeing it in full force right here.
Yeah, Rude Dude, you know, thou shalt have no undefeated teams before us, at least not this one. And, you know, the difference here, though, is that last week when we were casting, the undefeated team, after their first win, they had solidified first place. They had locked in that first seed, and were basically just playing for bragging rights. But Team Aquila here, as they're getting engaged on, they could still lose their first seed. And the first step to that would be 2Pump getting taken down here, but he's going to be saving himself with the Cosmic Radiance. It's the Dawning Shadow coming across to try to pick him up. Princeton going to be able to get that kill, and now it's Wu Yun and the Madman fighting 1v1 in the top lane. The Madman is going to win that fight as he takes down Wu Yun. It is a 3v5 on the map in the favor of Omega Gaming Unleashed, and they are pushing in the bottom lane to try to take this inhibitor.
Yeah, and they have the Baron as well with 3 stacked Baron or cannon minions right here. They don't have to stop at this point. They're going to pay the respect necessary to this Team Aquila roster, though, and not go into the 3 DPS sources of them. They're going to get the inhibitor. The Madman gets the top lane tier 2. With Drake spawning in 1 minute and 10 seconds, Unleashed are going to reset, set up vision, and try and put themselves on soul point. And with 3 items now completed on the Senna, the team fight is getting scarier and scarier for Team Aquila.
Yeah, and they're not even contesting for the soul here on the side of Team Aquila. They're contesting for soul point. So we're guaranteed at least 10 more minutes before that can be picked up. That's 10 more minutes of scaling time for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. That's 10 more minutes where the Maokai and the Sejuani can just evolve to this unkillable state. And I just want everyone to keep in mind, 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds is how long the Cosmic Radiance is going to keep them alive, is going to keep them invulnerable. And if they can't bust through the front line of the opposing team in that time, or a 2Pump gets caught out before the fight even happens, then they have no chance.
That should just be the Dragon now. Team Aquila will have to seed it. The Corki package right there, as we mentioned, the Pantheon Rumble Godsend mixture is going to be a key tool in zoning out the rest of Team Aquila as we see the Swirl Seed rolling down the mid lane. Not going to result in an engage here. The Madman might be a little bit caught, but look at the Mirror Mana damage from adjustment.
Yeah, no, just so much pressure being put onto Zydeco here. He can't go down and contest that dragon. He's just got to watch mid lane and make sure none of his teammates get picked up. That's going to be soul point in the favor of Omega Gaming Unleashed, something I never thought I'd be saying 15 minutes ago.
No, and now they're, with the last remaining part of
Baron.
Baron.
Now Malcolm going for a big engage here, going to land that Glacial Prison onto the opposing jungler, but they're just going to be backing off here. He's tanking up this turret. He's so powerful on this Sejuani, he can tank turret all day for this dive, as Wu Yun gets picked up by the remainder of Omega Gaming Unleashed, and they just back off and resume the push on this turret. But now, with a numbers advantage.
And with Senna, they're able to stay and sustain themselves after the fight. The Piercing Darkness not only damaging, healing the allies as well. And a really nicely played dive there. The Glacial Prism just missing out on Prism, who would have been the key target. They do, however, find Wu Hyun and take him down. Force out the Summoner spells from Prism as well. And Princeton sparing absolutely no expense trying to take down the Azir. Full Valkyries into him. And the Flash gets the Azir to safety. We've now got a minute and 10 seconds once again until the Baron has spawned. Unleashed playing this game very strategically in terms of trying to make sure they don't give up anything before the neutral objectives. Their goal is going to be to get themselves their second Baron, and hopefully with that they'll be able to close out the game. They have an inhibitor down in the bot lane as well, which is going to be a constant pressure point for Team Aquila. Somebody will always need to answer that. Fortunately, they have double teleport of Prism and Woohyun, so they have people who are able to clear out these waves, and wisely Unleashed are also sending a member down to the bot lane, meaning that the teleport isn't as easy as it might first seem. Renekton has a stun to cancel you, and also has 3 items to fight you with. Unleashed now firmly in the driver's seat are the ones commanding the map, and they're going to start taking control of the red side jungle.
Yeah, no, an adjustment has now passed up the 60 soul mark. He has 675 range on the side of that Senna and can just stay so far back to guarantee that these healing tools are going to be available. As long as he and Princeton can prevent themselves from being caught out, they have such this powerful front line that can stand in front of them, that they can be healed up for days, and that can prevent any of these people from being accessed. There's not a lot of powerful dive tools on the side of Team Aquila. You know, they have the Set and they have the Lilia, but those picks kind of want to be flanking in from the side. They can't just force through a front line.
No, and look at Madman here, forcing the super minions onto the Nexus turrets right here. Unleashed need to be very careful because the collapse from the Azir is about to happen, and this is going to be a 2v1. Unleashed need to turn onto the Baron as soon as they see the Azir, and you can see this cat and mouse chase between Team Aquila and Omega Gaming Unleashed. Who's going to start the Baron? The Madman TPs.
Here on the ward, so now they're going to be teleporting the Madman into the Baron, but the rest of Team Aquila smells that something is up. Woohyun cannot quite get there in time, though. He doesn't have any good wards to TP to. That's going to be a pink ward over the wall. He can do that now if he wants to, but it's going to be blue team already picking up the dragon. Princeton has solidified that cell for himself and the rest of his team. Now it's going to be the fight. Here comes the Cosmic Radiance, keeping the rest of the team alive. 1, 2, it's over. Simulacrum is now able to frontline and keep track of everybody else on the opposing team as Viscero is re-engaging. Princeton and Adjustment are now free to tear through the enemy team as Adjustment flashes forward, trying to get as much damage as possible. The Madman has dashed away into the Baron, but now Adjustment caught out a little bit on his own. Princeton, it's now up to him to carry the rest of the fight. He picks up a double kill, but he's going to get picked up by Kysper. That is a 1 fight for the side of Team Aquila, even though the Baron goes over to Omega Gaming Unleashed. Madman now going to find Woohyun here, going in onto Kysper, trying to stop this target from being able to take down turrets, and he does it. He gets the shutdown, and now Woohyun and Madman are just going to retreat away from each other, but no, Madman going back in onto Woohyun, trying to get this 1v1, trying to be the carry that his team needs him to be in this lost fight, and it looks like he can do it. He's healing up so much off of this Blade of the Ruin King. He's dashing back and forth through Set. This 1v1 is so close. Woohyun trying to get this Set regen back through, trying to wait out for his ultimate to come back up, and it just has come back up. Woohyun now going in for the ultimate, trying to make it happen, but the Renekton ultimate is up as well. Madman going to be able to finally win the one-on-one, going to go unstoppable, and going to protect his team in this game.
Yeah, so one member has the Baron, and overall, at the very end of the fight, it's a 4 for 5 in favor of Omega Gaming Unleashed, but Team Aquila are going to be more than happy with that trade because they get rid of 4 of the Barons. Yes, they lose 5 members, but the Renekton wasn't able to get anything going on the map. The most important thing about that is the amount of time it took for the Madman to take down Woohyun actually means he's going to be late to this Ocean Soul spawn, this permanent buff that Omega Gaming Unleashed really need to keep themselves in the driver's seat of this game. 9 seconds on the respawn, 16 on Woohyun's respawn himself, and Omega Gaming Unleashed really want to just burst this down off the bat so that there's not even a chance for a 5v5.
Team Aquila cannot let that happen here. They cannot give up the Ocean Drake to this huge front line of the opposing team, but it looks like they're not going to have a choice as LHGUL is caught out. He's flanked by the Madman and taken down immediately. Now it's going to be the package going away as Kysper just gets one shot by Princeton before the Cosmic Radiance can come down. It's here now, but it can't do anything. Already one of the carries are down. It's all up to Prism to try to carry this fight on his own under turret, but there are 5 members of Omega Gaming Unleashed coming ahead of him. Woohyun going to be taken down as well. It is now only Prism, 1 versus 5 for the rest of this game. Omega Gaming Unleashed are fully in the driver's seat with all 5 players still alive. They're going to pick up this soul at minimum, and they're going to look for the base.
Yeah, they can definitely go for something else here. The inhibitor.
Micro getting picked up here by Prism. Prism trying to make the difference, but he's going to get picked up. Ace for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. Soul for the side of Omega Gaming Unleashed. And they're going to try to end the game if they can, but they aren't going to be able to quite yet. You've got to assume Kysper coming up here right now to pump up in 1 second, as is LHGUL. They're going to pick up 2 inhibitors, and they're likely going to back off there.
Yeah, really nice team fight from Unleashed, playing it flawlessly in terms of how they needed to in that team fight. Flanking the Lilia so she could never get into the Dragon, get rid of Zydeco off of the bat, and then Princeton with an absolutely huge Valkyrie onto Kaisper, one-shots him, and Zydeco.
Call getting engaged onto here, but he does have backup from two teammates. Vadman now going to be taking all that damage, and they're going to decide to pop the sleep, but they can't follow up on it. Zydeco just going to retreat back into his own base, and that's a big cooldown down for this next fight.
It is, but when we have to think about what is the next fight going to be around, we've got 2.5 minutes on the Baron, 5 minutes on the Elder Drake. We've probably got a bit of time for those ultimates to be used and be used a bit more frugally than we'd normally see right here. So the lead objective now for Unleashed should be to go to that top lane, take out that one remaining inhibitor, and secure themselves the triple inhib process that they are so longing for if they want to close out this game cleanly. If we look at it from the side of Team Aquila, what do they have to do to win these team fights? Because the Corki and the Senna are nearly at full items at this point. Corki is, the Senna's missing just the one, and there's a very established frontline for Omega Gaming Unleashed. What we're looking for is Woo Hyun to be able to pull that frontline that the Unleashed are using so effectively back into the backline and gain access to this Corki and Senna. And Renekton, you're going
to be pushing the Madman in under turret, but some Alchemy and Adjustment are here on the other side. They're going to have so many heals available. It's going to be the Cosmic Radiance coming down, but it's too late. Prism has already been taken down. That's their primary damage dealer. Now it's their secondary damage dealer as well, picked up by the Dawning Shadow. It's Omega Gaming Unleashed. They're going to win this fight. They're going to win this game, and for the first time this autumn, it looks like Team Aquila is going to be losing a game. It's going to be to Omega Gaming Unleashed, who ends their 11-0 win streak and takes them to 11-1, taking this series to 1-1, and meaning we're going to go to Game 3 to decide who gets first seed in this playoffs.
Oh, and we've got a series on our hands right here. This is going to be a good one if we have ever seen it. Omega Gaming Unleashed come back from what looked like a really devastating first game. They've clapped back. Game number 2, they've scaled up, used the Corki scaling and the front line of Sejuani and the Maokai to enable a victory. We've got game number 3 coming up soon. This is going to be an absolute wonder to watch.
And tournament organizers everywhere, listen in. If you have a team doing too well in your league, just call up Rudude and I, because there will be no undefeated teams on this stream anytime soon. We're going right into Game 3 as Team Aquila reel from their first loss in this iteration of the team and have to see if they can bounce back from something they've never had to do before.